Well, here we go again. Harry and Meghan are back with another Montecito money grab. The Duke and Duchess of Privacy have embarked on a phony royal tour. They went to the Middle East, would you believe? I wish I was joking. Great timing, great timing. The pair travelled to Jordan to support efforts by the World Health Organization. Meghan, trying to be Mother Teresa, put on her best acting efforts at a refugee camp hospital, and Harry there loitering in the background as always, following Meghan's every lead. And the Prince even felt the need to insert himself into global issues.
The aid corridors need to be opened. They're currently not. And I know Dr. Tedros has already talked extensively about food and medical supplies, the basic needs for full access for humanitarian organisations to be able to deliver that aid to the people that need it the most.
What on earth is this guy on about? 600 to 800 aid trucks enter Gaza daily with food, shelter supplies and medical equipment. That's 4,200 trucks a week. To break this down, I'm now joined by royal commentator Angela Levin. Angela, a pleasure to have you on. What on earth were the pair doing in the Middle East?
Well, I think they haven't been seen very much successfully, particularly Meghan hasn't. And so, they come up with an idea, but I think it's the worst idea they could have managed because they didn't think it through and they turned up and made things extremely awkward. But actually to go to this hospital was a ridiculous thing, actually, because they don't know anything about it. But ironically, one of the children and one of the men there was going to have an amputation. And you should have seen Meghan's face because, that's the word what her father had, and she didn't want to know anything about it. And she was standing there absolutely looking terrified. And because he's going to have a prosthetic leg put back into his very soon. And she's not interested, not going. But there she was looking at lots of people that she didn't know. And trying to be nice to them. She came by plane, but she's not going to fly out and see her father. And I just thought, that's really awful. It just shows that she just can't be bothered with her father, who looked after her so long and nicely during her teenage years, which is always the hardest time to have children, isn't it? Look after them. And she's just not interested. So I just thought it was some shocking thing to do. But what else was shocking was that they were talking all about what's going on and what you just read about that there's no food and there's nothing going on. But that was, Israel. They did work together with Hamas, of all people, to know that they would go through special roads. And I think it was finished in the middle of August 2025. So Harry doesn't know what on earth he's doing, really. And that's just terrible to bring that in. They're not diplomats. They're not representing the royal family. They've got no office at all. And they still want to pretend that they're very important. They saw that the English embassy and they turned up and they were trying to get in, which they had done for a long time. They would have given the impression that in England, that's what we feel about. It's sort of taken over from the King and Prince Andrew and Prince William. And it would be very, very difficult to deal with it. It's a shocking thing to do, but they wanted to go in there and actually, I think, destroy the royal family, because you can't go in and give them something that they've done when they haven't talked about it. And it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. So that's what he did. And it's just a way of making money and being seen. And lots of photographs. They were on all the newspapers everywhere. And that's what they want, particularly Meghan, but also Harry. But they're not getting on well. If you saw that Meghan was trying to touch him all the time, hold hands, pushing him this way, that, and he kept moving his hands out the way. He didn't want to have anything to do with her. He was furious and he was very sulky. I don't know why. They might have had a row. But they're very peculiar that they let people see what they feel about each other. And he was very cross with her. And she doesn't like it if she's not got one hand in his and the other round his arm, so that he's not going to move anywhere.
Yeah, and well, I mean, they're basically, masquerading as foreign policy experts on the world stage when, as you said, they've got no clue whatsoever. And I played that clip for you earlier, but Harry, in that bizarre Channel 4 interview, he then also was asked a question about his uncle Andrew, and he laughed it off. Have a look.
I understand you don't wish to talk about your family, your uncle, things back in London. You're here because you don't want to distract from the work that you're doing on the WHO and on Gaza. So firstly, why are you here in Jordan? Why is it so important to you?
I think having spoken to Dr. Tedros for many months now, well, years, but specifically months in the lead up to this trip, it was really important for us to highlight the incredible work that Jordan does for this region. I think there's a lot of stuff in the news. It goes at an incredible pace.
Angela, did you notice then when he was asked that question, he was looking around. He looked awkward. He just it was like he was looking for permission to speak. He just isn't right.
There's something very wrong with him now, isn't there? I mean, I was with him for 15 months when I did the biography of him, but now he's just so nervous. And I think he's frightened of his wife, and I think he's frightened of now no longer having ability to talk very easily about what is going on. And it's all his problem. But he does make these long examples of what we should be doing, telling us what to do, tell families that they mustn't go to look at this or do that, and he's sort of trying to be a leader, but he's not a leader. He's not a leader because he's nothing really. You can't be a leader when you step down. He's still trying to put one step into the royal life, but that's not being accepted because it won't work if you then go off and try and sell something for being a part of a royal. But it's very difficult to stop him because they're like sort of travellers, and I don't know how you can stop them, but you must. Once they leave the royal family, how do you get them to behave properly? You no longer can, but I think the King and Prince William have just got to make changes because it puts the public out. I mean, you feel very wrong that what he's doing is absolute nonsense, unfair. Didn't mention Israel at all, nothing about October 7. It was all about now, and you can't do anything about it.
No, you mentioned they're like travellers. I mean, they're like gypsies. They've just got, there's no purpose. They're just wandering about, masquerading, as I said. Let's talk about Andrew. He's been told he must pay back the taxpayers' money that he spent on massages during his role as the UK's trade envoy. But there are also reports, Angela, that he could leave the UK and seek sanctuary in the UAE. Do you think that he would actually follow his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, and flee to the Middle East out of sheer embarrassment?
Well, he's been offered to go to the United Arab Emirates with an amazing offer. And this is 16,000 square foot, fully staffed, 6 bedrooms, and everything is there for what he wants, a swimming pool, 3 chefs. He's got all that there for him. But he doesn't want to do that, actually. He wants to see his children. I don't know that they particularly want to see him now, having been shocked by hearing the truth about how their father has behaved. But he might, because he'd be away from everything. If he stays here, it's very crowded for him. I mean, he likes to ride on his horse, but actually he's been told that he can't do that because he goes out of the area and they don't want him to smile. I mean, I think that's a bit sort of, you can't stop somebody smiling, and actually he needs to keep fit, but they have put a lot of things around him that that he just can't do, and so it's very difficult. But I think I don't really want to see him at all. Somehow, I don't want to see him in the newspaper or real life. It just turns your stomach for a man like that. But the thing about giving back all the money because of him using it for examinations and enjoying himself and all that sort of thing, I don't think that can go back. It just seems a nonsense, doesn't it? Once something's gone, it's lost.
It's lost. No, I completely agree with you. And yeah, I almost feel a bit sorry for Beatrice and Eugenie. I know you mentioned the daughters. It's just shocking. Before I let you go, Angela, I just want to ask you about William and Kate, because the Prince and Princess of Wales, they visited the Welsh town of Newton ahead of the country's National Day, St David's Day, over the weekend. And have a look at this very sweet moment when the princess was given a necklace by a child. That's just absolutely gorgeous. And have a look at this as well. Princess Kate even took time to play games with children who waited for her in the rain. I just thought that this vision that was about to come up on your screens, there it is. She's just, she's a mum, isn't she, Angela? First and foremost, you can just see why she's so loved.
Yeah. I mean, children go up to her, having just looked at her for a moment, and they hang on to her leg or round her waist, and they just seem to love her. And she loves them. She keeps them very happy. I remember a little black boy who saw a badge on her side, and he said, "I want that." And she said, "Of course." And she took it off and gave it to him, and his face lit up, and he just cuddled her and he wouldn't let her go for about half an hour. So she's just loves children, and that's why she does a lot about early childhood, because she thinks if you get that right at the beginning, then your children are much better. But you see, there are her own children, they're absolutely delightful as well. But if you can compare this with Meghan, when she was watching them paint and there was a bit of music going on, she didn't say anything to the children. She asked somebody who was there about it, and none of them were interested in her. And one, she said, "Have you heard of Meghan?" And the girl looked at her, about 5, and she just walked past her. Now, children can absolutely smell if you're the right sort of person that you're going to love for them. And it's very interesting. Catherine is absolutely adored by any child who meets her, because she puts everything into it, and they just love that. She treats them almost like an adult, but in a very warm, motherly way.
Yes.
And they just love her.
Yeah, it's very endearing. You're right. She has just such a beautiful quality about her. Angela Levin, nice to see you as always. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening.
Thank you for asking me.